My husband ran away during a Pitbull attack, leaving me with two kids to defend. Now, I'm questioning our marriage. I'm going to start with this. I'm still a bit traumatized, and I will be finding someone to talk to. And a friend's made this account for me because I am not a frequenter. Don't know if the Pitbull made it. I haven't asked. My husband and his niece and nephew and I were in our backyard. I am going to assume Outgate was open, I can't remember. The Pitbull, came out of nowhere and latched onto his niece, 5F. Niece screamed. I turned, kicked it with all the force I could manage. I was lucky enough to hit it in the jaw somewhere that made its jaw dislodge. My husband, who had been a few feet away, shouted. Something along the lines of, "Whose dog this?" I told him to get our bear spray from the house. I was in a panic. I am an animal love, but it was so insane the pit bull seemed almost rabid. I don't think it was in hindsight. It wasn't foaming at the mouth, it was just crazed. My husband ran, but not towards the house. He literally ran out the fence gate and shut it behind him, not towards his niece or nephew, who was also present in an outdoor bassinet that I managed to all but toss onto the picnic table to make sure it was out of the dog's reach, while holding his niece off my shoulder. I put her on the BBQ to keep her out of reach, but the dog was literally jumping and snapping, and I was worried that if I tried to carry her, I'm short, it would manage to grab her out of my hands. It chased me when I ran for the shove, but then I swung at it, and I swung until it stopped. I don't think I will ever forget the sound or feeling. It was so high stress, I didn't even realize that it had bit me twice. I haven't spoken to him for a full week, even though we live in the same house. I didn't ask where he went. He only came back a few minutes later to pack us into the car and drive us to the hospital. And he's getting angry that I'm giving him the silent treatment. But I feel like it's his fault that I had to possibly end that animal. If he had gotten the bear spray. I literally keep it in my purse for if I am ever attacked by an animal or otherwise. Then I don't think I would have needed to do what I did. It was literally just inside the door. He knows where I keep it. Instead, he literally took off to God knows where. Me and two children, that I'm not even related to, could have died. It might not even be relevant, but I don't even like kids. I am staunchly child-free, and he is the one that offered us up to babysit for the weekend. I don't know, is this grounds for divorce? I'm not sure I can even look at him. Any attraction I had to him is pretty much gone. He tried to touch me yesterday just to move me so he could pass, and I smacked his hand away without even thinking about it like he was some stranger at a bar, because it was literally jarring. He's just been skulking around trying to talk to me, then getting frustrated, then skulking more. I wasn't expecting him to be macho and fistfight the freaking dog, but at least follow instruction. At least not leave me in a life and death situation with a toddler and an infant. Should I be able to chalk this up to in the moment panic? I don't even know if I want to hear him out. Update 1. My friend said that people update often, but I don't know how to attach it to the other post. I thought I'd update since there had been a few things that happened, kinda. Sorry if this is needlessly long. And I didn't expect this to get this many comments and kindnesses. And I want to say I'm so sorry to everyone that has experienced anything similar, because, my God, it has not been easy. For everyone worried about my mental health, I did get in through an app with my work yesterday because I decided I really needed it and labeled it high priority. However, it felt like it was just a parliamentary meeting, and she said she wanted to get me to feeling a bit more comfortable because I was visibly tensing up whenever I started talking about it, and she even noticed it through the video chat. Last night, also I told me husband I needed space. I apologize that I don't have more of an update on our relationship than that. I wasn't as nice as I wanted to be. He argued and didn't want to leave. It's my house. But I told him I just didn't want to look at him. That I couldn't look at him. He cried, and I hate that I felt apathetic towards it. I haven't slept well, so I'm not sure I'm also just overtired and still so shaken, though. I was also emotionally exhausted after the appointment, so that might have added to it. I got a few questions about his sister and her husband, so I thought I'd answer. They aren't speaking with him. I don't know when it happened. I was definitely out of it at the hospital while I was getting the stitches and everything, But I do think after I was done blubbering and trying to explain how something so terrible happened to their little girl under our watch, they apparently asked him where he was. I still haven't talked to him about where he went, so I don't know. However, it clearly didn't satisfy them. His niece just got out of the hospital yesterday, so that really triggered everything, and a lot happened. I had sent flowers and a bear and this one toy thing she'd been asking about. I didn't go to a hospital, though. I was scared seeing me would make her nervous. But his sister and her husband sent me flowers, too, and it made me bawl again. I'm just a freaking mess, honestly. The father sent me a long message that I haven't been able to get through, but it's the sweetest things anyone's ever sent to me. He also sent me a 1K Visa card. I literally thought I was reading the amount wrong. They are good people, and I still feel terrible I couldn't have done more for her. Everything's just replaying in my head. Anyway, I obviously haven't looked into filing yet, but I am not against the idea of it. And it really did help me feel better about wanting a divorce over this. I know fight or flight can't be helped, but now I think I realize that it's okay not to want to be with someone who would leave you behind. I think I can say I'm a fighter, and I want a fighter with me. Maybe he'd be better off with a runner instead, too. Then he at least wouldn't be leaving someone behind. I don't know. It feels like I'm done. But I'm also just a mess, so right now I'm just glad I have space. And thank you for everyone making me feel like I wasn't being ridiculous, though. I think it always feels like it should be multiple issues that tear a marriage apart, unless it's infidelity or something. And it's like I know he may not have meant to betray me, but he still did. Whatever his reasoning. Not sure when I'll be speaking to him, but I will try to update then. Update 2. I wasn't really expecting to post another update, but a few things have happened, and I thought it might help me process a bit more. First off, thank you all again for the outpouring of support. It feels strange to be sharing so much of my life with strangers, but somehow it's been incredibly comforting. So, to the update. After telling my husband I needed space, I decided to take a few days off work and spend some time with a close friend. She's the one who originally suggested I post on here, and honestly, getting out of the house has been helpful. I didn't tell him where I was going or how long I'd be gone. I just needed to breathe without him lurking around, constantly trying to talk or acting upset when I didn't respond the way he wanted. Being away has given me some clarity, though I'm still struggling to wrap my head around everything. I was at my friend's place when I got a call from his sister. She asked if I'd be willing to talk, and I agreed, even though I wasn't sure what to expect. It was a bit awkward at first. I could hear the hesitation in her voice, probably because of the strain between her and my husband. She said they were still angry with him, but they didn't want to let it get in the way of supporting me. She didn't come right out and say it, but I could tell that there was a lot of confusion on their end, too. They don't know where he went either, and they've asked him several times. Apparently, he's given them vague answers, something about being overwhelmed and needing to get some air, which only added to their frustration. During our conversation, she mentioned something that I hadn't considered before. She said that when my husband came back to pack us into the car, he seemed unusually calm, almost detached. I hadn't really registered it in the moment, but thinking back, he was oddly composed after what had just happened. It was like he'd flipped a switch. I don't know if it's some sort of coping mechanism, but it's unsettling. It feels like there's more to his behavior that I don't understand. And that thought has been nagging at me ever since. As for me, I've been struggling to process everything, but I've decided to meet with a therapist in person next week. I've been doing virtual sessions, but I feel like I need to really sit down with someone to make sense of what's going on in my head. The guilt over what happened to my husband's niece is still weighing heavily on me, even though everyone has told me I did everything I could. I keep replaying the moment when I swung the shovel at the dog. The sound, the feeling. It's something I'll never forget. I wake up in the middle of the night, my heart racing, and for a split second, I think I can still hear the dog growling. On the topic of the Pitbull, I found out from animal control that it didn't survive. I was told this during a follow-up call, and I didn't really know how to react. I'm an animal lover, and knowing that I had a hand in, that just sits heavy on my chest. But at the same time, I know it was necessary. The dog was dangerous, and there were children involved. It was a lose-lose situation. Now, onto my husband. He finally confronted me about everything. And when I say confronted, I mean he cornered me as soon as I walked through the door after being away for a few days. I wasn't ready to have that conversation, but he wasn't giving me much of a choice. He started by apologizing, though it felt more like he was reciting a script than actually meaning it. He said things like, "I didn't mean to leave you," and "I just panicked." But when I asked him why he didn't get the bear spray or help in any way, he just kept saying he didn't know. I pressed him further, asking where he went when he ran off. That's when things got weird. He hesitated, then mumbled something about needing to check on something outside the fence. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I asked, "Check on what?" There was literally nothing out there. He got defensive and started rambling about how he thought maybe the dog had come from another yard, and he wanted to see if there was a way to stop it from coming back or if there was another dog. None of this made sense to me. Why would he leave us to check on some imaginary scenario when there was an actual, immediate danger happening right in front of him? It felt like he was grasping at straws, trying to justify his actions without actually taking responsibility. That conversation ended with me walking out of the room. I couldn't listen to any more of his excuses. I'm honestly at a loss. Part of me wonders if he's hiding something. I don't mean to sound paranoid, but the whole situation feels off. His behavior during and after the attack has been so bizarre, and his refusal to give me a straight answer just makes it worse. I've even started questioning whether this was the first time he's acted like this in a crisis, and I just didn't notice. I'm still leaning towards divorce, especially after that conversation. I can't shake the feeling that even if this was a one-time thing, it's revealed something fundamental about who he is. I need someone I can rely on when things go south, not someone who's going to run off and leave me to deal with it on my own. And the fact that I'm not even sure where he went during that time just adds another layer of distrust. In the meantime, I've started looking into lawyers. I haven't filed anything yet, but I'm preparing myself for that possibility. It feels surreal, but I think deep down I already know this marriage is over. I can't keep living with someone I don't feel safe with. I'll try to keep updating as things progress, but for now I'm taking it one day at a time. Thank you again for all the support and kind words. It really does help to know that there are people out there who understand what I'm going through, even if they're strangers on the internet. Update 3. Hey everyone, I didn't expect to be back so soon, but things have escalated in ways I couldn't have imagined. Honestly, I'm still trying to wrap my head around what's been happening. I guess this post is my way of venting and figuring things out because, at this point, I'm at a loss for how to proceed. After my last update, I started taking concrete steps toward filing for divorce. I know some people think that maybe I should wait, try therapy with my husband, or at least give him a chance to explain himself fully. But the thing is, I don't trust him anymore. Not just because he left us during the dog attack, but because of how he's been acting since. The defensiveness, the evasiveness, it all just feels wrong. I spoke to a lawyer and got some preliminary information on how to proceed. Nothing has been filed yet, but I'm preparing myself mentally and financially for the possibility of doing so soon. So here's where things took a turn I didn't expect. A few days ago, my husband's sister came by the house. I wasn't home at the time, I was at my friend's place again, but she left a voicemail asking if we could talk when I got a chance. I didn't think much of it at the time, assuming it was just about their niece and wanting to check in on how I was doing. But when I called her back, she sounded different. She was upset, but there was also this sense of urgency in her voice, like she needed to tell me something important. We agreed to meet at a cafe nearby, and I'll be honest, I was nervous. My gut was telling me that whatever she had to say wasn't going to be good. When I arrived, she looked stressed, and after we sat down, she didn't waste any time. She told me that my husband had been acting strange around their family for a while now, long before the dog attack. She didn't go into too much detail at first, just that he'd become distant, almost secretive, and that his behavior during the dog attack wasn't as out of character as I had thought. Apparently, he'd been withdrawing from them for months, avoiding family gatherings, and when he did show up, he was constantly on edge. I asked her why she hadn't mentioned this before, and she said that they were hoping it was just a phase or stress from work. They didn't want to worry me unnecessarily, and honestly, I get it. But what she told me next is what really threw me. She said that a few weeks before the attack, my husband had a strange conversation with their father. According to her, he told their dad that he was taking care of something, but didn't elaborate on what it was. Their dad thought he was talking about a work project or some issue around the house, but looking back now, they all feel like it was something more, something he didn't want anyone to know about. At this point, my stomach was in knots. I didn't know where she was going with this, but I had a feeling it wasn't going to end well. I asked her if she knew what he meant, and she said no, not exactly. But then she dropped a bombshell. She told me that the night of the dog attack, my husband left the house before coming back to get us. And he wasn't just getting some air like he'd said. He had gone to the back of our yard through the gate to meet someone. I was completely floored. I asked her how she knew this, and she explained that their father had seen my husband's car parked at a nearby lot that same night, which was strange because it wasn't anywhere near where he should have been. He hadn't mentioned it to anyone at the time, thinking it was just a coincidence. But after hearing about the dog attack and my husband's behavior, he started putting pieces together. Here's where things get even weirder. Apparently, there have been reports of a stray pit bull in our neighborhood for the past couple of months. Some neighbors had seen it roaming around but couldn't figure out where it came from. A few people thought it was abandoned, and others assumed it was someone's pet that kept escaping. The weird part is, my husband never mentioned any of this to me, even though he'd heard about it from a neighbor. In fact, he'd gone out of his way to not bring it up, which now feels like a huge red flag. I'm not sure what to make of all this yet, but something is clearly not adding up. My husband's strange behavior, the fact that he disappeared during the attack, and now these whispers about a stray dog that's been in the area for weeks, it's all too much of a coincidence. Part of me wonders if he knew more about the pit bull than he let on, but I don't want to jump to conclusions without more information. After I left the cafe, I was rattled. I went back to my friend's house and told her everything. She's just as confused as I am, but she thinks I should confront him directly. And I know she's right. I need to get answers, but I'm scared of what those answers might be. I haven't talked to him yet, but I'm planning on it. I don't know if I'll get the truth out of him or if he'll just keep dodging my questions like he has been, but I can't go on like this, living in this weird limbo where I don't even know who my husband really is anymore. I also reached out to a private investigator just to see if they could help me figure out what's been going on with him. I feel like I'm in some kind of nightmare, where everything I thought I knew about my life is unraveling. I'm not sure if the investigator will find anything, but I need to cover all my bases at this point. In the meantime, I've been trying to keep my distance from him. He's noticed, of course, and he's been sulking more than usual. He keeps asking me what's wrong, why I won't talk to him, and I just keep saying I need space. It's easier than explaining that I think he's hiding something huge from me, something that could change everything. I wish I had more concrete answers, but right now I'm still piecing things together. I'll keep you all posted if anything new comes up. For now, I just need to take it one step at a time and figure out how to move forward. Thank you again for all the support. You have no idea how much it means to me right now. Until then, I guess I'll just keep waiting for the other shoe to drop.